Hello, friends. In honor of Valentine's Day, we are answering some dating dilemmas, answering some of the questions to some of the most common dating dilemmas. So, one of the first ones I have here is it ever okay to sleep with someone on the first date? My answer to that would be it depends. It depends on what you want from the relationship. So, if your purpose is to get a sexual fix, then I guess it's okay. Do you? However, if you are seeking a deeper, meaningful relationship, sleeping with someone on the first date is probably not a good idea. What do you think, May?
Okay, is it ever okay to sleep with someone on the first date? I agree. That depends. It depends on what you're looking for to get out of it. Are you just scratching a niche, or are you looking for something deeper? And I've heard from a whole bunch of people that, especially if you meet somebody in a club, that nobody is looking for a relationship there. It's if you hook up with somebody, that is strictly it. You're just hooking up. You're catching and releasing. But if you're looking for a relationship, might not want to do that on the first date. I don't know. It kind of depends on the person too, because it could be somebody who um, is looking to scratch an itch as well, but then you kind of find out that you have things in common. So it kind of just depends, and more so, I believe, is just to be ready for uh, if it doesn't work out. I think that's the better thing. Just be ready. And then if it works, then yay for you. But if not, then yeah, hopefully it was a good time. Hopefully.
All right. So the next question is when getting to know someone, how much information is too much information? Okay. So, how much is TMI? You're dating and, well, you're starting to date and you're trying to get to know the other person. So, you're having conversations and you're trying to decide how much to share and how much to hold back. Is that right? Okay. So I would think that too much information would be where you just begin to speak to someone about your life history. You, when you're just meeting someone, it can be a bit too much information in terms of information overload. So you don't want to do that. Instead, you want to give them tidbits, snippets, something to keep them interested and wanting to know more about you. But if you tell them everything, then there's nothing more to get to know. Some things, like if you're a single parent, for example, that's something that a person needs to know. So that's not too much information. If you are transgender, that's something that people need to know. But anything beyond that, is it could be construed as too much information if you're telling them, oh, when I was 10, this happened, my parents did this, they got a divorce, and, that sort of thing. That's too much information, especially for like a first or second date. That is way too much information. Just practice on enjoying each other, getting to know each other, and making it interesting so that the person wants to know more about you. You gave them part A of the story, now they're looking for part B.
TMI is tricky. So, what? How much should you tell somebody that you're just meeting? Um, Name. I mean, conversation starters. Where you're from. Um, Depending on what kind of job you do, if you can share what you do for work, then share about what you do for work. Just the basic stuff. If you're planning on seeing each other again, then probably food allergies, meal preferences, willingness to try other things. Um, you don't want to say, I don't think you should start off with something like picking my nose is therapeutic or something like that. um, because Diane mentioned about not keeping it interesting. That one's kind of tricky for me because if I don't feel like I need to or I should, and it's probably not what she meant, but I don't necessarily feel the need to entertain someone or to make sure that this person is going to consistently stay interested in me because I know that I'm not all that exciting kind of thing, or I don't, at least I don't think I am. I have exciting moments, but that's about it. But like trying to keep a person entertained, and do I expect that person to entertain me? No, I expect that person to be himself around me, which is what I would want to do, which is where all the information would come in, and then trying to gauge, okay, now what all do I need to tell that person? But I don't necessarily want to get it to the point to where I'm trying to figure out how to keep this person interested in me because that's kind of entirely up to the other person. That's how I see it. Dating someone who is separated. Wow, that's kind of a is it a tricky one? I don't know. Dating someone who is separated, kind of, kind of, it's a tricky question ish in that um, mostly I think it's going to depend on you, me, us, and what we're expecting from this person, knowing that, and this just seems to be just the way it goes. He's not going to leave his wife. She's not going to leave her husband. So you got to be prepared for that one and treat it like that. If you're just looking for a good time and they're looking for a distraction and you're okay with being somebody's distraction, then okay. That's and it's two consenting adults, so I can't tell you one way or the other anyway. Just a caution to just be careful because emotions can start to get you can start to get attached to that person, or that person can start to get attached to you, particularly if it's somebody who's married and they get attached to you, and you're like, you're not going anywhere, so why are you trying to, why are you, then they get like possessive and stuff, so why are you being so possessive of me, but you go home to somebody else? I'm supposed to not have anybody else in my life. So with dating somebody who's married, then and I had a I had someone tell me uh, being separated is the same thing as being single. I didn't agree with that, and I don't agree with that because you're still bound by law to this person, and you're bound by history and everything else to this other person. So to say that being separated makes you free, no, not this. Divorce makes you free. But not separated. So all that to say, it's gonna you got to be ready, and you got to make sure that you have it in your head and in your heart that either this is just something to do to pass the time for both of you, or um, well, that's pretty much it. Because for me, I don't see it necessarily going anywhere. And based on Maury Povich and Jerry Springer and Oprah, I mean, pick a show. You see all these people like, but he said he loved me. She said she loved me. Still married, and they love their husband and their wife and their kids and all that kind of stuff. So it's just gonna depend on how you wanna how you go into that. I don't recommend it necessarily unless you just know down deep down like this is all there is to it. There's nothing more that's gonna happen with this.
So, the next question, is it okay to date a person who is separated? All right. For me, that is dangerous territory. If you are dating someone who is separated, I feel like you run the risk of not being in a fully committed relationship because that individual that is still attached has other obligations. So their story is not finished yet. So it's difficult for them to begin a new story with you because they have not finished their old story. there is possibility that individual may return to their previous partner because they never finished with them in the first place. I think that's dangerous territory, so I would caution anyone who would who would be dating a person who is separated. Wait until that individual is able to fully commit to getting to know you and getting to be a part of that relationship instead of having baggage from a previous relationship. All right, so the next question, I am afraid of rejection. How do I get up the courage or nerve to ask someone out? Did I get that question right? Okay, yeah. So this one can be quite difficult. You know, it takes a lot of courage. No one likes to be rejected. It takes a lot of courage to get up that kind of nerve in order to ask someone out. Technology has made things a lot easier for some people. I personally would not like to be asked out via text message or email, but that is a form of communication that individuals use nowadays. So if you are not as confident face to face, then that's another way you could do it. Or you could approach it as if you would any other friend. Go into it with the intention of being a friend. You know, most good relationships are built on friendships. Most dating relationships are built on friendship. So if you approach it as if your intention is to be friends with this person, then I think it'll make it easier to ask them out. So for example, you could ask them to coffee. Ask them if they would like to go out to coffee, or if they would like to, just hang out to see a movie or something like that. Just in a friendly way, not putting any sort of expectation on the event itself in terms of saying, oh, I hope one day this person becomes my significant other. No, instead, go into it with the perspective of, I want this friendship. So would you like to go out to coffee and get to know each other better?
Being afraid of rejection, asking someone out. I am the queen of that part. It's mostly gonna be one of those things, like the worst they can say is no. The best they can say is yes. And that's pretty much it. So rejection is a part of life. No matter what the situation is, we tend to place a different degree of it when it comes to dealing with other people, but it's still it's still a yes or no kind of thing, or it's a not right now, or whatever the situation is. But YOLO. You only live once. And spending all that time in fear, preaching to myself, spending all that time in fear of rejection is not going to get you what you want, because you won't know until you ask. Are you spoken for? Yes? Oh, okay. Well, now I know. Are you no? Well, would you like to go out? Then we go from there. So you're not asking the person to marry you. You just want to go out and have a good time with this person that you're interested in. So fear is the mind killer. Doom. So must not give in to the fear. Do your best. You got this. I got this.
Alrighty, so the next question I have on my list is, who should pay for the first date? That one is always a biggie for individuals because a lot of times, tradition dictates that the man should pay for the date But some people feel like it depends on who asked who out, things like that. I tend to be more on the traditional side. I think the male should pay for the date, but I also do not feel that I cannot pay for a date. So I'll give you an example. How would you feel if you went out to eat with someone and the bill comes and they're just kind of sitting there looking at you? Right? It would be a bit awkward. So I definitely think that the male should pay for the date, but I also think that females should offer to help. Oh, can I help you with that? Or, can I leave the tip? That sort of thing. So that way it's not all on the male. So there's definitely nothing that says a male has to pay for a date. But traditionally speaking, most of the time it's the man who asks out the female. If you're dealing with other types of relationships, I do believe that it could be mutual in terms like you both pay for the date. One picks up the check and the other leaves the tip. That's always a good way to go. I've also found it, where the male, no, I have it, I'll pay, and I'm like, okay, well, next date is on me. Whether or not you have a next date, I don't know, but that's kind of the way I approach it. Next date's on me. You got this one, I'll get the next one.
Who should pay for the first date? This day and age. Oh my, there's a question. I'm a oh nobody but to love them kind of person, so I pay for myself. You pay for you, I pay for me, and that way I'm not concerned about how much I eat or how much I drink because that's my money that's paying for it. I don't have to be concerned that later on in the night, well, I paid like $100 for your meal. Oh, what? So I'm a prostitute now? So I owe you? You asked me out, that kind of thing. But I'm more. I'll pay for myself and I will reach for the bill to see. And probably it'd probably be a better idea to just upfront, like I'll just pay for myself. And then if that person insists, no, I got it. I'm prepared for this. I got it. Well, okay. um, it's just that thing of a person thinking that I'm gonna owe after this meal. Just I don't. That's a history thing, I guess. But I just don't want that over me. So I just prefer. Or I might have it in my mind that you know what, I asked this person out, I'll pay for it. But there is this one thing. There's this piece of old fashioned in me that um, when the check comes, if he does not reach for the bill at all, ah, so that's a caveat. Like at least act like you want to contribute to this meal or something like that. But if he doesn't reach for it at all, I take issue with that. That could be like an old fashioned thing that creeps in there, but if that's what is it? What's the term? That sticks in my craw. Yeah, that sticks in my craw big time. It's not that. Anyway, yeah, he should at least reach for the bill, or she. Well, no, I'm not cheating anyway. Yeah, he should at least reach for the bill. All the good men are taken. It certainly does seem that way. And if they're not taken, they're famous and taken. Yeah, but we know that's not true. They're not all taken. It's just uh, we don't know where they are, or we do know where they are. We just goes back to the rejection thing. We're scared to ask them out, kind of thing. And plus, the grass always looks greener on the other side. So you're out in public and you see this guy. He's opening the door for his lady, and 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 holding her purse and doing those things that women like for men to do. Uh, so there's seeing things like that, but at the same time, you don't know what's going on at home. He could just be really nice outside. Um, so I believe that there are good men out there, good women, but good men out there. It's just them finding you and you finding them. It may be a little bit harder because we're older and because of our baggage, we tend to take less risks, but we won't find them if we don't necessarily search for them or leave ourselves open for them to come to us.
All right. So the next question is kind of a twofold question. I have here all the good men are already taken and dating over 40. So I think that a lot of individuals who are dating over 40 probably run into this and feel this way, that there are no more good people out there. All the good ones are taken. So I think the initial approach for that is to kind of change that perspective, because statistics dictate, and I'll put the statistics down below, but statistics dictate that, there are a lot of single people, either by choice, either by divorce, separation, or failed relationships. So there are a lot more single people out there than you might think, because a lot of times that's where the focus lies. So when you look around, it's like everybody's in love and everybody's dating, but that's actually not true. Otherwise, Match.com and all these other places would be out of business. So there definitely are good people out there still. You just have to be willing to seek them out. And that's really what it boils down to. At any age, you just have to be willing to seek those people out and be receptive to them. A lot of times we get hung up in our types. I like this type of person, and we exclude a whole lot of other individuals that are good, genuine people, but they may not fit into a cookie cutter type. So being receptive and being open, I think that will increase your dating pool, and I think it will help you in terms of finding a good person that's a good fit for you.
Dating over 40. That seems to be kind of challenging too, but it goes back to what I was saying about because we're older, we tend to come in, and it's not intentional. We don't mean to come in with a lot of baggage, but because of our life experiences, we tend to take less risks, and we don't have time for. I laugh because I say that. I don't have time for foolishness. So we don't have time for foolishness. Either you're interested or you're not, and we tend to be blunt, and sometimes bluntness is not good.
Okay. So the next question I have on my list here: online dating is full of psychos. How can I meet someone? Okay. So, one of the things that I have noticed that people have a tendency to do when they're dating, either online or even face to face, is that overshare. People divulge a lot of personal information. Even in the information age where we caution people not to do that, people have a tendency to just gurgitate. So I would say when you're meeting a person online, please understand this person is a stranger. You can chat with them, you can talk to them, you can get to know them online. However, they are still a stranger. We have a tendency to use the word friend very loosely, and we see these people as our friends in the traditional sense, but in actuality, you're friends with a stranger. All you know about them is what they tell you, which would be the case for any kind of relationship, but it's compounded when you meet someone online, because online people can create a persona. Yes, they can do that in the real world too, which is why you should really take time to get to know someone before you consider them friends, or before you consider them your boyfriend or girlfriend, significant other, whatever you want to call them. Just give yourself time to truly get to know someone and truly build that circle of trust before you divulge too much information about yourself. And to add to that, when you're meeting someone, especially for the first time, exercise caution. Always have an out. What I mean by that, not a way to ditch them, but always have an out in terms of your own transportation. Never be dependent on a person that you meet online. So if you're meeting this individual for the first time, exercise all the precautions that you should take on any type of date. Have your own transportation, meet them at a location, meet them at a public location. Do not go anywhere alone with them. And exercise all of these precautions in order to have a nice, safe date.
Online dating is full of psychos. How can I meet someone? Well, not online dating is full of psychos. How can you meet someone? Driving down the highway is full of psychos. Um, I don't really know how to answer that one. That one still goes back to just taking a chance and just jumping out there and usually a nut will let you know right away. Yeah, I'm crazy. You don't want to deal with me. And then you have the option of trying to make that person better or letting them go and moving on to the next person. There's over 6 billion people on the planet. There's got to be somebody who's not crazy. So online dating, usually in the first few messages of online dating, you'll find out what kind of person you're dealing with. They'll say something crazy, and then that's when you can make your choice. Well, that's been my experience. But you do what you want to do. You're grown.